wonderful people.
The hospitals are free, and if you need surgery that's not available here, they will fly you to another country to get treatment for free. When you become a senior citizen, you get discounts, many discounts. And if you live alone and can't afford it, Dubai will even send a caretaker to look after you for free. And when you die, well, in Dubai, that's also free. Your funeral will be taken care of, and Dubai will build a full tent with air conditioning within 5 hours of your death next to your home so your friends can come and say goodbye to you.
Guyana will become the next Dubai.
With wonderful people all over this country. She is a beauty, beautiful Guyana.
So anyway, we are on now, and we want to welcome you to our program tonight. And of course, we want to thank Nohar Singh for making this platform available, and of course, to Devin Bisu, our technical specialist. Tonight, we want to discuss cricket and everything about cricket. And to help us along that route, of course, is two outstanding sons of Guyana, and we are very honored and privileged to have them with us. Sir Clive Lloyd we're trying to get him connected to us, and he will be on shortly. But we have Derek Kallicharan, who is no stranger to the Guyanese and West Indian cricket. As we know, he played for the West Indies B team. He played for Guyana for many years. And of course, we all know his brother, Alvin Kallicharan, who was a real inspiration to all of us as we were growing up. So welcome tonight, and Derek, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me in the program, and wish Mr. Clive Lloyd will be there shortly.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. And my co-host, Dr. Rose, welcome.
Thank you, Charles, and welcome, Derek.
Thank you.
Yeah, Derek, we want to start, and I know we got limited time now because we lost like 30 minutes. What has happened to this glorious West Indies team that we knew of as we grew up in the formative years?
I would say we kind of fell off after like you said, our glorious years. There are a few reasons for that. And you guys would agree with me, is that when what's not broken, we don't change. And the West Indies team was doing so well, even though there may have been issues around, we did not know about it, meaning they were winning. And as more and more players start to retire, the better players, we weren't bringing in good enough players to replace them. In the meanwhile, our cricket, I think, and you guys would again agree with me, that our standard has dropped a little bit. And every other country has started to develop their cricket. So we kind of fall back on that aspect of the game.
So you think that contributes to our fall in the top hierarchy of the world cricket?
Yeah, I think so. Again, like I said, the other countries has picked up what I would say what the West Indians were doing, meaning they were developing fast bowlers and they were making different pitches. They were improving, and they were opening up a lot of academies around their countries. In India, for example, right now, each state has academies that develop their cricketers. Australia doing the same. England, I would assume, they always have academies. New Zealand, everywhere are doing the same thing. Pakistan, they're all opening up new academies, bringing overseas coaches and help their cricketers to help improve their standard of cricket.
So why West Indies lapse in that? Because of take it for granted?
Well, yeah, I would say they probably have, and again, Mr. Clive Lloyd would have more insight into these things because he's been around there and he would know more. And I'm sure that's a question he can help us to have a better knowledge on.
Do you think it's too late for academy for West Indies cricket?
No, it's never too late for those things. Academies are always welcome. You still have cricketers, so you still have to improve on them. Our problem also is, and again, you can't fault the younger guys or the players that they have now who are looking to make money to play this T20 cricket all around the world. So I would say in also in that aspect, the West Indies has lost a lot of good players because they're not coming back to play for the West Indies. They play all this T20 cricket everywhere. So that takes up most of the time.
But also the other part of the world, they also play the T20 and they still have top line players in their test cricket.
And that's true. But if you notice, the other countries, when their players are playing in T20s around the world, as soon as they ask them to come back to play for the country, they do that. Unfortunately, our players don't do that. The West Indian players, they stay there and they play out the entire tournament, and the West Indies in turn suffers.
So what you're telling us, it's not a joy of playing to champion your team, but it's more for lucrative financial gains.
Absolutely. I would ask you the question, when was the last time Sunil Narayan or Bravo or Pollard, those guys, Russell, I don't know when was the last time they represented the West Indies. Now, these guys have forgotten that they came from the West Indies who made them. And I'm not saying that they should not go and make money. That's not what I'm saying. But at least come back and play for your country and make sure the standards stay where it used to be, before.
Very good point. Yeah. And you're comparing that to other teams of the world, their players return home to play for their country.
Absolutely.
When they're called upon.
Yeah, the country does not give them a choice. If we say you got to come back tomorrow, you got to be there tomorrow.
Interesting. Dr. Rose?
Yes, Mr. Derek Kallicharan. The name Kallicharan is a household name in Guyana in the 80s and perhaps in the 90s. But it's not because of Derek Kallicharan, I think. It's because of Alvin. So, and this is not to slight you in any way, shape, or form. I'll come to your background. So give us a brief background of yourself, where you're from, when you started playing cricket, and so forth.
Well, I started, I'm from Port Morant, of course, a little village in Tain settlement over there. I started playing for the Guyana under 19. We used to call it the Benson Hedges those days. I started there as a 16-year-old, 17 years old, in the 76, 77. And then I started play for the Guyana Shell Shield, the senior team in 1978, 79 versus Barbados. I have played for, I would say, 8 years, non-stop. In the meantime, while we're not playing cricket in the Caribbean, I go to play cricket in England, club cricket in England, to help improve my game. When I finished playing for Guyana, I came to United States, and then I represented the United States in 94 and 96 in their ICC tournaments. During those time, I played club cricket for both Port Morant and Everest Cricket Club in Guyana. So, and again, I played cricket out in England for 8 years. plus Scotland. I spent 2 years over there. So altogether, 8 years I was in the United Kingdom.
So you start playing cricket. You went to Port Moran's school, am I right?
I went to Quarantine High School, Chandy Singh, they call it.
And that's where you started to play cricket, or?
Well, I started playing for my primary school, Teen Settlement.
Oh, Teen Settlement.
Yeah, as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old.
Okay. Tell us some of the countries you went and played cricket for in.
Well, like I said, I play most of the cricket in the Caribbean, on the Caribbean islands. I played in England for those number of years. I played in Malaysia, India, Pakistan, representing the United States, Zimbabwe, of course. So those are some of the countries I've been to. Ireland.
I got this question to ask you. A number of our viewers asked me to ask you, when you have to face a fast bowler, tell us how scared you are, or if you're scared at all.
I mean, if I'm brave enough to say I'm one of these guys that I've never been scared. I look forward to my game. Actually, I played against some of the fastest bowlers in the world, and you guys will remember them playing for Guyana versus Barbados. You play against Malcolm Marshall, Joel Garner, Sylvester Clarke, Wayne Daniel. I played against Michael Holding when he was bowling at his quickest, Courtney Walsh, Andy Roberts. And when I played against these guys, they were in the quickest. They were still young. They had just started their test career. So they were all bowling at 90, 95 miles an hour. And those days we had no helmet. And all those pads and, arm guards and all those things that those guys have these days. I can't say I was ever scared, but, I'm not saying it wasn't a scary thought, but I wasn't scared. You got to go out there and perform.
You didn't play against Wesley or Charlie Griffith?
No.
Okay. Now, in playing cricket, tell us some of the preparations you have to make.
Well, first of all, you got to be fit. We did a lot of running exercises, training.
Yes, Sir Clive is there. Yeah.
Sir Clive is there. Thank you for coming in. Okay, Derek, go ahead.
I can see young Kallicharan, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Skip. You're late.
No, not me. You see, my superior telephones, mobiles, if you don't have top stuff, it doesn't work.
Okay. Okay, Derek, go along.
Yeah.
We'll continue.
And like I was just saying, Skip, we and playing under Sir Clive Lloyd, he had us training, was some tough training. That when we played for Guyana in our time, we have to go and run at 5 o'clock in the morning at GDF, right, Skip? Run on the seawall, come back, have our breakfast. Then we go to practice. When we're not playing, we go to practice from 10 o'clock to whatever, 12, 1 o'clock. Go home, get some lunch, and then we come back again in the afternoon. And while we're doing all those things, we still used to gotta run around the park a couple of times.
Wow.
And the day of the game, we have to exercise and train and still go around a couple of times as well.
Some say that you were qualified or was a good cricketer to play in Test cricket. Why you did not get a chance to play in Test cricket?
I don't know. I wasn't I wasn't a selector. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I can probably say wrong time. I don't know.
It was close.
The West Indies those days, and again, Sir Clive would tell you that they were building on a team that had most fast bowlers. They were winning, and again, like I said before, what's not broken, don't try to fix.
Sir Clive, welcome to the program, and thanks for having you here. Let me ask you one question before I let my colleague comes in. And this is my first question to you is a very curious one. You are knighted by the Queen.
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers what the process was like, what she said to you, and what you responded and said to her?
Well, no, the point is that she didn't do it because she was ill.
Okay.
But it was at Windsor Castle, and Prince William did the duties. We talked about. He said he's not a cricket fan, more or less a football person. We had a good long chat about England and what they were doing at the time and so on.
Okay.
But it's a very special day.
Had a good lunch?
Well, when you got into there, you didn't have time for that. You just went straight into the room and they, give you the bit of what was going to happen and so on. And once the ceremony started, that was it. Then you had interviews with different
media outlets
and so on. And then you went and had you took pictures because all the press was there, and then the couple of a few questions were asked, and then I went and I had a meal with my son and other people.
Okay, Charles, over to you.
Sir Clive, welcome. This is Charles Segram. We want to thank you. I know last week for our viewers, Sir Clive was supposed to be here, but he wasn't feeling too well. So we are so glad that he's here today. Sir Clive, I know one of your hallmark is your mustache, and you have not let it down. You still have that trademark.
Yeah.
Have you ever shaved that mustache off?
Yeah, when I was much younger, I suppose I did. But once it had grown, and then people got accustomed to it, that was it. And yes, it's my trademark, as you say. Yeah.
Okay, so Clive, I asked Derek, what has happened to the glorious West Indies team? I know when you were captain of the team, you were on top. We maintained that status for many, many years. When you exit the stage, things began to fall apart. Why?
Well, I think it did not immediately, things didn't go down, the drain of such. I think we relaxed a few things, and it's the professionalism that you have to upkeep. I mean, we didn't just win because we had a good team. 98% of the team when I took over, hadn't played a test match. So this was a new team, and we were building on it, and that's what we did. And I suppose as we progressed, everybody got professional in our outlook, and quite a few of our guys were playing county cricket, so they got a very good grounding of such. Because here you were playing county cricket, and you're batting 6 times a week, and we didn't have that sort of grounding growing up in the West Indies. We had Shell Shield, then it changed to Red Stripe. But the point is that we didn't play. The players today didn't have the sort of grounding that we had. We had a lot of our ex-players played in our domestic cricket Saturday afternoon in Guyana, or playing into island cricket, and all the top players were playing. Barbados, you had Wes Hall, Charlie Griffith, Sir Garfield Sobers, Prof. Edwards, David Holford. They had a very good side. Trinidad had a good side. They had a lot of um, swing bowlers and so on, and spin. Jamaica had a bit of both. Guyana had a bit of everything too. So your all-round game was taken care of when you played for your country in the inter-island games.
Well, like Derek mentioned, Sir Clive, is that you are disciplinarian, so to speak. You had your players very disciplined, and I was told, or many of us were told, when you look at the player, they get the message. Is that discipline? Has that discipline disappeared?
No, but the point is that what happened is that once you join the team, I'm talking about the test team now. I didn't have that sort of leeway when I was playing captain of Guyana. I would take the young players that are coming in for a meal and have a chat with them and give them an idea of what is expected of them. And normally I would that's when they would be rooming together. When you had two to a room, I'd put a senior player with a junior player, and he is supposed to look after that junior player, make sure that he arrives in time for the coach and so on, and team meetings, those sort of things. So it started not only on the field, off the field too. Dress was important. Your deportment, you representing your country, you can't come with green socks and blue shoes, or those sort of things. You got to match things. And as we progressed, we got uniforms. But playing for Guyana, and you started that in that manner. You had to try and get them, inculcate quite a few good habits, because when you go abroad, you want them to exhibit that. So it was a situation, and don't forget, the only teams I captained were my high school. I never captained Guyana. I captained the West Indies before I captained Guyana. I think I did a president's game against Australia before I was thrown into the deep end. So I really didn't have that experience. So I worked with the players that I had, and not that I was regimental or anything. They realized that one guy did say once, if they see me get annoyed, they know that they've overstepped the line. And that's the respect too. You have to respect the players, and in turn you'll get their respect. And that was important, because you're dealing with people from different islands, and they have, a Barbadian is different from a Trinidadian from a Guyanese, a Jamaican from an Antiguan sort of thing. So it's a matter of getting them all to, play together, respect one another, and that sort of took a very good turn, because they were all young. They were very young guys, and they were growing up together as such, and it was a difficult job of such, but a very rewarding one, because we won, and we won well, and we won often.
And that's the point, Clive. We're not doing that now. What is the reason for that?
Well, it's a different situation now that we have, and you really can't blame the players. They now, this T20 franchise cricket has destroyed our cricket, because you see the other countries have a lot more players to choose from. We have 14 islands, different cultures and backgrounds. Australia, 50 million. India, billion and a two. You have Sri Lanka with millions of people. Pakistan, a lot more people. The only country that probably do have as many people as we have in the West is New Zealand. And what a sporting nation. But the point is that now that the guys are being paid quite handsomely, which is something that we were hoping that should have happened years ago. But the point now, it's got to a stage where they now have a choice. You can either you play just franchise cricket and you make a fortune.
And that is what Derek was talking about earlier, Sir Clive. He's talking about when the Australians or the Indian team or the Pakistan team or the New Zealand or England, they play franchise cricket, they play that, the short-term cricket, but when their country call them back to serve, they do. And Derek was saying that the West Indies players are not necessarily doing the same thing.
Well, yes, that is why I'm saying that, they have a choice. Even the fellow Strauss the other day said, you can't blame the players because they're getting paid heavily and they're being paid well. But that is the problem. If they lose 10 players, it's no problem. They have 330 odd players, and display every year. India can provide 3 test teams at the moment because they have the personnel. We don't have that. If we lose 5 players, it will take some time to replace them. So the point is that it's unfortunate that we can't get our players to play when we want them to play. And that's our problem. The other problem that we have that the Indians will have over us is that they have the IPL and they have a lot of ex-players, captains who only finished a couple of months ago, a year or so ago. So they're getting that knowledge. Every team has got quite a lot of knowledgeable ex-cricketers. We don't have that. So they're way ahead of us in that respect. And as I said, because we don't have a lot of cricketers to choose from, if we lose, it takes you 3 years to build, to get a test cricketer to come to the top of his game. So if you lose 6 or 7 of them, it's going to take you another couple of years to fill that gap. And then when they get there, they've gone. So it's like digging a hole to fill a hole. And we have that problem, and we'll have it for a while, unless we can get the players to play for us when we want them to play for us.
But Sir Clive, as you mentioned, the older players or the retired players for the other teams, they're there to help the younger team. But in Guyana, you're Guyanese, Derek is Guyanese. When you guys retire, you leave the country, so there's no one to look up to for the younger players to get involved. Is that part of the problem, you think?
Well, I don't know. I presume is that we have a lot of guys down there, but they're now all over the place. There's a natural progression to go to the States because of family commitments. People have got their family, and they're trying to improve themselves. So that's one problem. When I retired, I went back. I managed the team. I for quite a while I was a selector. I was on the board, but for some reason at times these guys don't want anything to do to they're not offered anything. It's only now that Guyana is a place that is much better. We have oil and gas and so on. So we have a chance of giving people a good living. We didn't have that during my time. I was living in England and playing for the West Indies, and you want to give your kids the best. You want to give them very good education. You want to make sure that things are, that they grow up in the right manner. So people, sort of migrated to other places because of the situation.
Sir Clive, Derek also mentioned that other countries have academy and the West Indies cricket do not. Would you support that the West Indies starts an academy and they base it in Georgetown?
Well, don't forget, I asked them years ago, and even when I was playing, I asked them to have an academy so that our players will learn a lot before they get, to test match standard, not learning on the job of such. And one of our top players said, well, why should we do the same thing that Australia is doing? And that was rather silly because it wasn't, I wanted to have our guys being taught properly about batting and fielding and all aspects of cricket. And we didn't do that. And Australia have done it. Other countries have done it. If you go to South Africa. And the point is that every state has got an academy or, and you go to have a net and you video, and then you assess your batting with the coach. We needed to have that sort of system, but we didn't do that. We just took it for granted that we're going to just turn out players all the time, and and we didn't have to train them properly. So what we were having, we had a situation where we had players learning on the job, and we have that up to now. Our players, they are not getting the grounding that they should.
Derek, yeah, sorry, go on, sir.
Carry on. Let me hear you.
No, sir. Derek was saying that it's not too late to start an academy. What is your view?
Well, we have everything going for us in Guyana. We have the money. We've always had the land. Good. They now say that they're thinking of getting an academy, a top-class academy, so that when we put a player out there, he's ready to work. He'll be like a doctor. When he finishes university, he's ready to do his work.
But Sir Clive, and I know Dr. Rose, 1 minute. Clive, when you were growing up, and I presume you grew up in Georgetown, right? Is that correct?
Yes, Queenstown, yes.
Okay. When we were growing up in the country area, like Derek is on the quarantine, there was good cricket ground all over the country. In West Demerara, where I'm from, we had Versailles Cricket Ground, we had Leonora Park, we had all these Iflat Park. So they had great, really wonderful ground. Now most of the grounds are in bushes or they're taken over from other things. So even the young people, as they grow up, there's no really cricket going on in their area with nothing really for them to practice on.
Well, I think that is what they're trying to do now. During my time, you start in the parks there by the army and down that main road with BGCC, BGCC, Queen's College. All those grounds on Saturday and Sunday were filled with people playing. Mm. Now you don't have that. They're unkempt, they're not pristine. There's nobody there to sort of, to keep them in the manner that they're accustomed to. But having spoken to the Minister of Sport, they now want to have better playing surfaces and in all aspects of sport. So most of the grounds are supposed to be now in pristine condition, and the players will be able to have good practice facilities, and they have the best grounds in the Caribbean, for that matter. We have the money, we have the people that are willing to bring it to the fore, and I'm hoping that it would happen, because we need to do that. We need to give our players. We have the facilities, and we need to give our players. We have university, so anybody with a modicum of intelligence should be able to go to university and learn, have a trade, or if they want to have a degree or whatever. I think those are the things that we need to do. We have to give our young people the best.
And Sir Clive, now that you have said that, will you, and of course Derek will answer himself, will you be available to be a conduit for setting up that academy in Guyana the minister told you about?
Well, I spoke to the president, and he rang me the other day when he was in India. And he rang me twice, actually, and he talked about this one Guyana and me getting involved with building the facility and having the best facilities for our players. But I presume he will let me know in time. But I must let him know that I'm not a spring chicken anymore.
Okay, Derek, will you be part of that academy?
Well, I would love to, and I'm sure if Sir Clive is there, he's going to call upon me for a little help here and there. No, I have, on a serious side, I've asked the Berbice Cricket Board, actually, that I'm willing to go back and spend a week and help out or teach some of the young kids, a little bit of something that I've learned myself. But up until now, I haven't heard anything positive from them. And I'm willing, again, like I said, to go back and give a week of my time. I'm not asking for any salary or anything. But Mr. Foster, who is the president of the Berbice Cricket Board, he got in touch with me recently, and they want to do a function out here in New York sometime in June. And part of that fundraiser is going to be for an academy out in Berbice. And hopefully, if they got the support and raise enough funds out here, and I'm sure he want to do something in Canada as well, whatever fund they raise, and they will build the academy in Berbice, wherever it's being built. And I'll be more than happy and willing to go and help in any which way I can, or they would need me for,
Well, as Sir Clive said, we have enough funds now with oil and gas, so maybe there's enough money for the academy.
Yes, I think the ex-players like young Kallicharan should be able to go and assist. And he's got to be paid. It's not, these guys up their time, and he shouldn't just go for a week. He should go for, specific times during the year, so he can follow up on the people that he has seen and found out what progress they're making. We have a lot of very good cricketers around, and I think we should make use of them. And I hope that it happens. Mr. Foster from Berbice, I think he's a very hands-on guy. I have a lot of time for him. He's a go-getter, But for some reason, when you have that sort of gung-ho attitude, a lot of people, are jealous and you fall out with them. And I don't think someone of his ilk should be more involved with our cricket at all at the highest level.
Dr. Rose?
Yeah. Is he Alex Foster? Derek?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Foster,
Okay.
yeah, he's from Berbice,
Okay.
yes.
Now, Sir Clive, West Indies cricket team was formed in 1885, but it was mostly white players, and they played the first test match in 1928 against England. Now, by the 1950s, we had the three W's, Weeks, Worrell, and Walcott. I just heard you talk about them. So the team changed into more of a West Indian type of cricketers. Now, can you tell our viewers when you were, what year you were selected to play cricket in the West Indies, and which country you played your first test match against, and how much runs you scored?
The point is when the situation in the old days, it is just that we are very subservient, I suppose. That's what they said. And we had to have somebody white in charge because they said that we would sort of, we work well when somebody of that ilk is in charge, which I thought was so demeaning. But Frank Worrell should have been captain a long time before.
No. When the team was formed, it was all white until the mid-50s.
Well, not really. The point is that we had a situation where it's not that we didn't have black players that were good. It's just that the situation that they were chosen because they were of that
Okay.
company.
Agreed.
Right. And I remember if you read Keith Miller's book, and I was told that, well, it's written there. When Goddard was the captain, I think it was.
Yeah, Goddard, yeah.
Yeah, and he asked when they went to Goddard's place for drinks and dinner and so on. And I think Keith Miller and one or two asked where the three W's were. And he said, "Oh well, we don't mix with these guys during the evenings and only during the play." And I'm told that they all walked home and left the scene.
Okay.
But those are the things that we had in those days, but they were not very nice. But everything changed. It has changed now, and I changed for the better. I don't think we'll have those situations again. People will be chosen on merit and nothing to do with color or whatever. And what I told you about is, I think it is written.
Right, I know. When you were selected, what year you were selected to play your first test match, and against which country?
1966.
Okay.
I was chosen.
Who was the captain?
And Sugafi Sobers.
Okay.
I made before the first test match, just about half an hour before, Gary turned to me and said, "You're in." And I said, "In?" He said, "Yes, you're playing." I said, "I'm playing?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Timor Nurse is injured, so you'll have to play." So I only knew half an hour before. Anyhow, I made 82 and 78 not out.
Okay, great. Now, you became the West Indies captain, I stand correct, in the late 1970s until 1985 series against Australia. You captained the team for 74 test matches. You won 36. And many said that you are the greatest West Indies cricket captain of all times. I don't want you to comment on this as yet. I want Derek to tell me if he thinks so.
Well, record has proven that, no? And I got to say, I'm privileged. I was privileged and honored to be playing with him and also as his captain, because I learned a lot from him. And speaking to other folks around the Caribbean, while we were playing Shell Shield, the consensus was that he was the best captain. And like he said before, bringing all those players together wasn't the easiest thing, being from different backgrounds. That also help the fact for him to become a great captain. And the result proved that, winning all these years, 2 World Cups, the original 60 over World Cup, 75 and then 79 again. Went to Australia after that and beat Australia and beat everyone else for the next 15 years, I would assume. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Sir Clive, what was the reason for your success, and which country gave you the toughest time ever to beat?
Well, the success came because these guys were young, and your mother was so your Ben the Three was young, and we grew up together. They started their test careers with me. We won together. We lost 1 or 2 test matches together, but we were a very professional side. And winning, just like losing, is contagious. And the point is that we were there whenever, after a certain time in our cricketing life, when we are going on tour, it's how much we will beat the opposition by. It's not if we will win. We were that confident. And the point is that, and I like to know the makeup of our team. Our makeup of our team, it didn't have, we have all sorts of people there. We had Portuguese, we have Indians, we have blacks, we even had a Chinese in between there. But the point is that it was a multiracial side, and we played for one another. We shared everything, and that's where our team spirit came from. The point is that if you won a man of the match, you got half the money because you did most of the work, and the rest went into the kitty. So, and everybody got the same share. I didn't get any more money than any of the other players, although I was captain. The point is that we shared everything, so we became like a family.
Okay. You played with some of the greatest West Indian cricketers of all time, or world cricketers of all times. Gary Sobers, Basil Butcher, the late Basil Butcher, Rohan Kanai, Joe Solomon, Lance Gibbs, Hall, and Griffith, still considered 2 fastest pacers in the world. Joe Solomon, Lance Gibbs, Steve Kumash, the late Roy Fredericks, and Carey from Trinidad. How was your relationship with these people, with your fellow cricketers?
Quite good. I mean, these are guys that I, idolize. Rohan, Lance is my cousin, Lance Gibbs. Basil Butcher, you have Joe Solomon. They're guys that I idolized. So when I played with them, it was like, these are guys that I used to stand up outside the border with my scrapbook and had their pictures, and I said, oh, that's Ramadan and that's this, and eventually, I ended up playing with Sir Garfield Sobers, Lance, Kanai, Butcher, Solomon. It was a moment that you cherish all your life, because these are people that you idolize and you wanted to be like them, much as played with them, So I think I wouldn't change my life for anything. I live it again because it was such a wonderful life. It gave me my upward mobility, and that is why I have to respect the sport that gave me that.
This question for both of you, but I'll come to you after Derek. Sir Clive, in your opinion, who is the greatest West Indian batsman of all times? The greatest bowler, pace and spin, and the greatest all-rounder.
Well, I think Gary Sobers will fit in two of those because as a batsman, his average is better than some of the batters who batted alone. He was the greatest all-rounder I know, one of the greatest cricketers I know. And then you have Viv, Brian Lara, and then you have the other guys that came through, the Kallicharans of this world, Gordon Greenwich, Lawrence Rowe, Desmond Haynes, Larry Gomes. We have an array of talent. And it was a pleasure to play with these guys. And I can't speak and I couldn't think of the adjectives. I'm running out of adjectives to say.
Who was the greatest spin bowler? Who was the greatest spin bowler in your view? And the greatest,
Lancers, you know, Ramadan and Valentine, they started it. You know, fast bowlers we had Malcolm Marshall, we had Andy Roberts, Michael Holding, Gerald Garner, Colin Croft. But you have to give a lot of credit to Robertson because he started it all. But Malcolm has got to be, and Walsh, they've got to be some of the best bowlers around because they had three guys at the other end who were just as good.
Derek, Mr. Kallicharan, Sir Clive was very modest. Now, I have a twofold question for you. In your opinion, who was the greatest West Indian batsman of all times? The greatest bowler, spin bowler and pace bowler, and the greatest all-rounder?
And again, I'll be like Sir Clive Lloyd. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint anyone or any two, any three. They were all. I had the privilege to play with some of them and also against most of them. And like Clive, the numbers would prove that Sir Gary is probably the best all-rounder the world has ever seen. So the best batsman for me, it's hard to say Brian Lara, Viv Richards. Those two people, how can you put them one or two? It's very difficult.
So Clive did not mention where he placed himself, but among Gary Sobers, Basil Butcher, Rohan Kanai, and guys like Conrad Hunt, Seymour Norris, where you think Sir Clive fits in?
Skip, can you help me out?
Put me at number 7.
No, he's up there. You know, look, and again, you go by the numbers and the situation that he has played his cricket in, and it comes in the situation. It's not always the best time to come in and bat whenever he did. Yeah, but he got to be up there. You know, between 1 and 4, I would say. But go back to the fast bowlers. I would say Marshall and Andy Roberts are the two best fast bowlers. The rest of them are not far behind. And like he says, Courtney Walsh, who ended up with, I don't know, over 500 wickets. Not easy for a fast bowler. Spinners, I guess before my time, there were a lot of good guys. Andy Lance, like he says, but there was also people like Inshanali Jumadin. Unfortunately, they did not perform as a West Indian spinner, meaning they haven't gotten the amount of wickets they would have loved. You guys have people like Ranji Nanan. You know, they were all very, very good spin bowlers in the Caribbean, and they proved that over and over again.
I read a number of books on cricket, including Ron Kanai's Blasting for Runs. I read this one by Andy something, Ron Getter, and so forth. But all the other authors, except Ron Kanai's book, consider Ron Kanai as a star batsman. What that means?
And again, you know, you go by numbers. He has proven that in his time and that he was probably one of the greatest batsmen in the world. He's played against some of the toughest bowlers coming from Australia, England those days, and not so much South Africa, but India, Pakistan, and even New Zealand. Now, I don't think he ever played against New Zealand. That's a good question. Not a lot of people know that, but Rohan has never played against New Zealand for whatever reason. But no, he was always considered one of the, like Sir Clive said, he was like a godfather to everyone in the Caribbean when he was playing. So yeah, he was up there.
Sir Clive, you there?
Yes, I'm listening.
This question is for both of you. Who hit the longest six in cricket ever?
Oh boy, I wouldn't know. We had some. Gale would probably be one of those.
What about you, Derek?
Yeah, I saw Viv hit one out in Old Trafford, right, Skip, when he made that 185. It went in the trainer somewhere.
Yeah, he was a good striker.
If I tell you Ron Kanai, would you all doubt me?
No, I wouldn't. Ron was just pure class. He's a classy player.
Ron hit a six at border, and that six ended up at Skeldon on the quarantine. Because it landed in a truck and it goes straight up the quarantine with the ball.
Well, you never know. No, and like Sir Clive says, Chris Gale is probably the longest hitter of a cricket ball from the Caribbean, from the West Indies.
Sir Clive, when you were there in test matches, can you tell our viewers what the selection process was like in selecting a cricketer, a bowler, a batsman, or whatever?
Well, the point is that the good thing about it, after a while, our 11 more or less picked itself as such, because these guys are just doing they were just playing extremely well. So we didn't have to change too many players of such. The odd one here and there, but we had a very settled side. So I there was no animosity, and some fellas realized that that this team is the team. So they didn't sort of wonder why they're not playing or anything like that. And not only that, we didn't have any insularity either, because we were winning. So nobody could really say that we weren't picking the right side. So we got rid of insularity by doing so well.
Politics kept into cricket when Gary Soares went to play in South Africa. Former President Forrest Burnham said he will not be welcome to Guyana, and he had to apologize. Do you think that was right? And this South Africa was an apartheid government, and no one wants anything to do with them. But do you think it was right?
Well, the point is that it was a situation where nobody was sort of playing with South Africa, and and people have to respect our views, because most of the people were suppressed. It was a horrible time, and we stuck to our guns, and eventually good sense prevailed, and apartheid was demolished, and I that was one of the best things that could have happened. Look at South Africa now. It's, I look at the teams that they have, men and women, and it's multiracial, and that's how it should be. People should enjoy what they do, and color should never play a part in that. And hopefully that will continue, and that they will flourish as a nation.
I had one more question for you, and then one for Mr. Kallicharan before I turn it over to my colleagues. When did you know that you were heading for greatness in cricket, Sir Clive?
Well, it's not. I knew I they must have seen something in me, because I remember, guys, older cricketers, and saying, "Oh, this guy's got talent," and these are people who played for Guyana or played for the for the country, for the West Indies. So once they had said something of that nature, then you knew that you must have some sort of talent.
Mr. Kallicharan, you said that we should have academy in Guyana, cricket academy in Guyana and so forth. But Guyana now, the West Indies now have female cricketers. How are the Guyanese female cricketers doing? And do you think there should be an academy for them as well?
The academy should be for everyone. I mean, who's playing cricket, whether it's Guyana or the academy. That's the reason for it being there, whether it's women or men. There should not be any different academy for women and for men. I've watched. I don't really watch too much cricket, but I know the Guyanese, they play inter-county, then they have the inter-Caribbean. Looking at the other islands, I don't think the Guyanese team is as as strong as, of course, the other Caribbean islands. Whatever the reasons are, I don't know, but I'm sure, like men's cricket, they need to put in the hard work. And just to go back a little bit on what Sir Clive said before, and Andy Roberts and we were talking the other day, and Andy said it right, that all coaching should be done when the kids are young, not, like Sir Clive said, not when they get to Test cricket or playing for Guyana. That's not when you coach them. You coach them when they're young and they're little and they learn everything to come to that standard too. When you come to play for Guyana, you should know everything about cricket. Playing for West Indies, again, when you play for the West Indies, you should be on top of your game. So yeah, Guyana, whether it's women or men cricket, they need to work on the game, and hopefully the academy will bring that out.
And quickly, how many centuries have you scored in your professional cricket career?
I haven't scored any first class 100. My highest, I think, is about 90 playing for Guyana.
Okay.
But Sir Clive used to put me to bat late, so.
And Sir Clive,
we always keep the best for last.
And Sir Clive, how many Test centuries have you scored?
I think it's 19.
19? Who got the most Test centuries in the West Indies? Do you know?
I think it's
Brian
Lara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charles, over to you.
I think Sandra Paul is pretty close.
Yeah. Sir Clive, we talk about sixes who hit the biggest, the farthest six. I don't know if you remember. I was at Border one, I'm not sure what team it was, but you were batting on the Regent Street end. And you hit, I think, one of the flattest six just over the fence on the offside. It went between Kenny Richard's stand and Clive Lloyd's stand there. So I said, whoa, look at that six. That's a flat six that you don't normally see in Test cricket. Do you remember that six you hit there?
I think it was against Pakistan, I think, isn't it?
Might have been.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's probably connect nicely.
You had a heavy bat, was it?
No, my bat had a lot of rubbers because I have very long fingers. So the point is not that it was heavy. I weighed it the other day, it was 2.7.
Oh. I remember, sorry, I remember we were playing in, I think, Dominica, and he gotten some bat just came in from Duncan Fernley, and we have to go look for a plane to shave it down. And then he said, youngster, we got to put in some rubber on this bat here. I have no idea how to put 7 rubber on a bat.
About 4 or 5, not about that.
4 or 5.
But the bats, you see, the handles were very thin, and I had to get, you had to feel that you were holding something.
Right.
Sir Clive, Dr. Rose mentioned, when West Indies cricket started, it was all white, of course, because West Indies at the time was white. How did it feel when you went to England and you gave them a whitewash? What was the feeling like in the West Indies team then?
Well, yes, it's always good when you win, and when you win handsomely. It's the respect that we that we got from people. People started to think of us not as calypso cricketers, but professionals, and we made our people quite proud. I remember the manager of the South African team, and he told me that he said, Clive, when you guys are winning, and we were studying at Birmingham University, we supported you guys because we couldn't, because of the situation in our country. So, you were giving people not only from your country that professional attitude, that not just only winning is important. Winning is important for a lot of ways for us, because when you win, you can demand a better sort of sum of money for the West Indies, because we don't have the amount of people, right? To sort of charge exorbitant fees of such, like the other countries can do. We had to win, and then we were given
compensated.
that status. I remember we were winning in Australia in the 80s, and the Australians were staying in fancy hotels, and we were staying at some 3-star jobs. And I rang Stephen Kamash and I said, listen, we are winning here. We're the world champions. And they're 5-star hotels that we should be staying at. And he said, you can book in the guys. And we booked in at this 5-star, the Melbourne Hotel or whatever it was. And I used to come down every time at lunchtime and dinner time, because there was a lady playing some beautiful classical music, and the sheets were pristine, rooms were large. The guys were now enjoying themselves. I went further, and I said, listen, we have shorts here, white, off-white. We need to have shorts just like the Australians, with their logos, and you when you put it on, you feel comfortable. And he said, go on, order some. And I ordered 60 shirts. And the guys had these lovely shorts, just like the Australians had. And it gave us that lift, that we were being looked after. Good. And I remember Gordon Greenwich went and he bought about, I thought he bought it. I don't know if he got them sponsored. But we had 3 shirts each, and emblazoned the cross, the front and the back. Class is class, form is temporary.
That was interesting. Sir Clive, if I can recall, when you beat England, the 5-test series, I think England changed their captain. The captaincy was changed during the series, if I can recall. Is that true?
I don't know. Gower, I think, was the captain. I think he went all right through.
Oh, you went through?
One of the greatest games that we had was at Lord's. And, they wanted to declare and didn't want it, and they declared just after lunch, giving us 360 odd to make.
Yeah, with Gordon.
And we got Gordon Greenwich, who got a double 100. Larry Gomes
got 90 something.
Yeah. To me, it was a wonderful display of Test cricket, and it showed that we just in the ascendancy, and we thoroughly enjoyed what we did. We made our people proud, and
Definitely.
it was a wonderful time in our cricket. And I'm hoping that sometime in the future that we would get back to that standard.
So
No,
Clive, like Derek mentioned, the 50 over matches, the World Cup. I remember in 1975, we were going to high school, and I was going to high school then. We were on our radio, we were just listening to those glorious matches. You won the first World Cup, as Derek mentioned. You won the second one, but in 1983, India upset you. What did Kapil Dev say to you after the match?
well, I don't think he said, and he was so happy that he won, but it was a situation. It was my last game, and if you notice during my career, I've lost all the last games that I've played. But it's not that they were that much better, because we went to India after that and we played 8 one-days and won all of them. So it was a sort of a blip, you know. And for in 3 World Cups, we went to 3 World Cup finals. We lost 2 games in the 3 World Cups that we played, and one was the final.
Yeah.
And the 2 games that we lost to India.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the game for you to win, because it was what? India made 143, I believe it was.
No, 183.
183.
Yeah, 183.
And I think West Indies collapsed at 143, right?
We made 140.
Yeah. And I think the blame then was going to foul backers. I think foul backers sold out the game. Was that a fair?
You can't blame one guy for that. No, I didn't think we didn't play as well as we can, or we should. And we lost the game. It was gave India one-day cricket a bit of a lift, because they started to play very well in one-day cricket. So it had its good points, but we should have. We were the better side.
Yeah.
When you think of it, but on that day we didn't play well.
Yeah. So Clive, initially you were against the T20 cricket, and as we mentioned,
no, not me. No, not me. No.
You were not against it?
I think it was Mr. Holding that said he didn't like.
Oh,
I think it was him.
Okay, said Mike, he does not watch. He does not watch or commentate on T20 cricket.
Yeah.
But you think in your days when West Indies was on top, the T20 would have given the boys some more finance as it's doing now, or that was the wrong time? It wasn't ready for it.
No, the point is it came. Cricketers were always underpaid, really, when you think of it. Whereas Hall in 1958 got a pound a day meal money and all those other. We were always treated very badly where finance is concerned. So that is why when these guys are doing well now, you can't really blame them, because they're playing a game where it's not you can't play it into your 70s. So you have to make as much as you can now. And if we had seen this situation, then they could have rectified that and give more money to Test cricket and less to the one-days.
Sir Clive, when you were captain, Guyana, for the West Indies team, Guyana had sometimes 6, 7 players. Of recent, Guyanese players have been missing in action. We know, recently in Zimbabwe, the 2 Guyanese really did very well. Chandapal made that partnership with the opening bat with the captain, a record opening, and then we know Moti broke even the record that stood for 70 years with the number of wickets in Test cricket. Why in your time there were so many Guyanese in the team, but now Guyanese hardly make the team?
Well, don't forget, a couple of them, quite a few of them are now playing in the franchise games. We have a lot of good young cricketers. There's no doubt about that, and I'm sure that eventually, there's a fellow called Nandu, I think, new guy. He seems to be a pretty good cricketer. I think, listen, good cream always come to the top, and I'm sure eventually that would happen. It will take some time because you'll have to work a little bit harder at your game where your fitness is concerned, because that is paramount. And once we get that right, if we can get that academy going and get the right people teaching our young players the rudiments of the game, I think they'll be fine. But it will take a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I have not heard any cricketer like you and Alvin or Clive or Rohan or anybody talk about this. But a lot of Guyanese were suggesting that we should have a Guyanese cricket team for a test match. You think that's something that is possible? Or we are too small for that?
No, I don't think the point is that to sustain it, you have to sustain that situation to have a test team. What we need to do is to have a better system. We have to work a little harder on how we producing our cricketers and get people the right people to, I'm not saying that these selectors are not, living up to, they're trying their best with what they have. And it will always be difficult to get the right test team. But, and if you look at it, these selectors do have a problem because they're not picking for the full squad. They have guys who were playing more test cricket, more franchise cricket than the 4-day stuff. So they have a difficult job. They're trying their best, but I'm sure and I'm hoping that we do get it right, because people want West Indies cricket to be at the forefront.
Thank you. Dr. Rose, anything, because I think we're out of time now, but any other questions?
Yes, I think that Shiv Chandrapal, we have a street name after him. And Sir Clive, we have a highway name after you, Sir Clive Highway or something of the sort. But in my view, cricketers are not synonymous with roads. It should be named after some park, cricket grounds, or so forth. There are about 3 or 4 cricket grounds of Borbies. Kanji, and I stand corrected from Mr. Kallicharan, Albion, Portmeron, Tain, Wim. You can name one after Basil Butcher, Rowan Kanai, Joe Solomon, and so on. They came from there. Sir Clive, they have many in Georgetown. They can name after them too. Why give cricketers names street names? That's not their forte.
But if you, not cutting you, but if you listen to my speech, right, which I made after when I was awarded the doctorate from the Guyana University, that's exactly what I said, that we should name some of these grounds after the great cricketers that we have. And but it's entirely up to the people who are in charge of our cricket to do so. I would love to see Border and GFC as our stadium.
There are eyesores right now. Nothing is going on there.
Well, athletics and cricket, those are, that is Border's the oldest cricket ground in the West Indies.
Yeah, I was told so.
And we can have, and I've put that to the government before, but I think it's what I was told I wasn't happy with. Now, we can have the GFC as the athletic, football, and cycling section,
right?
And then we can have cricket without removing the stands back 25 yards, making it a larger stadium. and use the mall as the car parking. You can use coffee section as a car park, and people could walk across. You can walk to border from Kitty, from the scheme, from near the sea wall. People can walk there. You can walk to Providence.
Now, I'm
You'll
saying
be
to
a
you,
very tired person when you get there.
right, what I'm saying is that they're
You
naming
drive when you're
streets,
tired.
they're naming streets after cricketers, but if those who are doing it go to Barbados and go to the parishes, you see the West Hall Stadium, you see the Charlie Griffith Stadium, you see the Conroe, they came from different parishes and they name stadiums there after them. Jamaica has the same thing. I've been to those places and I've seen it there. And also, even Trinidad, you have this guy's stadium there, but they
Brian
had
Lara.
plus they had two others. But in Guyana, they're naming streets after cricketers. How come we can't get it right? Cricketers got nothing to do with streets. This is the
Well,
problem. This is the problem I'm having. Those who are doing these things, you have to think and know what you're doing. You don't do things because someone else did it. I haven't
You
seen any
know,
streets. I haven't seen any streets named in Trinidad or Barbados or Jamaica after cricketers. None. Maybe they are, but I haven't seen it.
you have
And
the, you
Guyana
have the
is
Brian Lara Mall.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And,
No,
and
but we have a situation where we can do it. The point is, even if you don't want to give, they have rooms that you can name after people. We don't have an academy, not an academy. We need to have a section for all our great cricketers.
but
We
Boris has
don't
a
have,
number of cricket fields. You can name it after Kanai, Butcher, Solomon,
yeah,
and
but
all of the cricketers. Kallicharan, they came from there. Georgian has a number of them too, and West Bank, they were all over the country. So I don't know why you're naming streets after cricketers. What cricketers have to do with streets? I don't even know. Someone will have to tell me
yeah,
that.
but I said, and you can even people name stands there,
Right.
gates. There are all sorts of things you can. So I'm very annoyed too with situation that we don't have the water bolts of this world. Some of the greatest footballers.
Right.
Not we have nothing there. There's no GFC should have a wall of heroes. Because
absolutely.
I was an avid football watcher. Athletics, we have some of the best athletes in the world, but we don't see them anywhere. The
I
name
agree
don't
with
appear
you.
anywhere.
I agree with you. That's what they should be on the stands
Powell, we
and
had
those
Powell, we
places.
had DeWarco, George Pina.
So, Sir
Um,
Clive, why don't you who named these places after cricketers, the streets? Is it the government or a commission or
yes,
what it is?
it's the government, yeah, not the
Why
cricket
can't
people.
you recommend to the government that look,
I government till
cricketers
I'm
are
blue in the
not
face.
synonymous?
Since I'm blue in the face, I have given them. I my friend who was murdered, Max Pereira. He's drawn up improving border, but nobody. And I've given it to ministers. I give it to Mr. Rup Narayan. He's got it. It's not that they don't have, and that to me, we have now. We now getting all this money and so on, and we do not have a stadium of note, athletic stadium across the river. But if you have one there in Georgetown, because you know how much it costs to go across the river,
I know.
that's to the athletic stadium.
At
Have
Lenora.
something
I
there.
know. I know.
Have something there that is already. People still ask about border. Uh, a gentleman from England wanted to buy all the pictures at the Georgetown Club. When you see the names that we have a history. We need to preserve that history.
And Skip, you and Dr. Rose, you said, we have a guy like Eddie Grant, a musician.
Right.
I'm sure not a lot of people knew he's from Guyana. Even
Right.
us in Guyana don't know he's from Guyana.
Right.
Yes, sorry, Derek, sorry to cut you off, but Devin just sent me a note there that Zoom will cut us off soon. So we want to thank you, gentlemen. Sir Clive Lloyd, it was a pleasure having you with us. Derek, it's a pleasure. We look forward to you coming back sometime in the future. We can discuss more cricket, and we pray that, the government of Guyana calling you both, plus other cricketers, they go back to that academy. Let us have the best players in the Caribbean coming from Guyana, and we do have the talent, and I'm sure our boys will do, and girls will do very well. So thank you so much, Sir Clive. And
Thank you. Pleasure, Goff.
Thank you very much.
Thank